Morning, everybody. This is Rahul's idea of convening the leaders of the Max Group to kick off the first of many such sessions, workshops, get-togethers to bind us all as one family. We've said in the past over the years that we are the Max family. The last 9 or 10 years have been very actively and committedly spent on startups, on building scale, on building teams, on building the brand, or shall I say building the businesses which have built the brand, and so on and so forth. So it's been a very rewarding 10 years or 11 years, but also not without its challenges. Because we are in complex businesses. We are in businesses that touch the lives of people where there are no alternatives of going back. You don't like the coffee, you can leave it. You don't like this location, you needn't come back, etc., etc. But there's no going back in our case. And therefore, to get it right, reasonably right, first time, build trust is a very difficult proposition, because every transaction every episode is a virtual life in itself. I often give the example, particularly a Max Healthcare example, patient coming in for a phlebotomy, simply withdrawal of a little blood for a blood test, jab twice or thrice, gets very, very upset. The attending nurse or the physician cannot say, "Why are you getting upset? Do you know there are 100 surgeries going on here of A or B kind?" So for them, it's their life at that time. And for the family that's getting a surgery done, it's their life at that time. You may have the privilege of dealing in lakhs and crores. A lot of people who get served claim checks are in single-digit lakhs. And in the moment of truth, a one-day delay means everything in their lives, and so on and so forth. But I think 10, 11, 12 years out, we can look back with a lot of accomplishment, we can look back with a lot of pride to say that literally in 11 years, we have built a customer base of some 4.5 million people, some 8, 9, 10,000 crores of turnover, and we are all the people we are, including our agent advisors. I think that's a great achievement. So I want to first start might be saying the obvious, but I don't know if everybody in the room is equally aware of some of these accomplishments that we have. And I want to applaud you and thank you for myself, from the family, for doing all that you have done over the years to bring the Max brand and name to where it is. So please join me in applauding. I didn't know till a few days ago, I knew this leadership summit was on, but I didn't know till a few days ago that I was going to be asked to speak. So I put something together literally in the last 36 or 48 hours. And I actually got up day before yesterday and hand wrote it. And Saurabh then produced a PowerPoint, which I decided to do a PowerPoint yesterday because I was not sure of my back and not sure of my energy level to have a good recall in sharing my thoughts and my views with you, so I decided to pen them down, as it were. Night before last, we had a farewell for Damien. Damien is going back to Bupa, to the world of Bupa. We have his successor now already with us, Mansij. Would you get up and identify yourself? Mr. Mansij Mishra, who is our new CEO for Max Bupa. Damien completed his task as a startup CEO, and I think is getting posted to Singapore. Rahul, is that right? So that's where Damien is going. And this is a piece out of his talk the other night. And Damien said exactly what is here. And he said, over the last couple of weeks, I, meaning Damien, has been witnessing the build-up to the Olympics, and one item, cycling, has really inspired me. The achievements of Bradley Wiggins, the 12 Tour de France winner, is simply huge. And so he goes on to say that Bradley Wiggins' coach said in the press recently, there are two things that make you change your behavior. As an individual or a sportsman seeking to achieve a new level. That's exactly the same if you are trying to lose weight or win the Tour de France. And the two things are, the suffering has to be enough or the reward has to be enough. If either of those aren't big enough, you are not going to change and you will keep on doing what you have been doing. So when he said this night before last, I almost thought that he's had a peep into my notes for this session. Because actually, that is the central theme of what I want to share with you. And as it comes up 2 pages later, let me move on and get there. So my personal evaluation for myself is that I was not born a businessman. I truly walk around thinking now, as I did 10 or 20 or 25 years ago, that I was not born a businessman. I've had to learn and train myself to become thinking like a businessman. I still don't know if I am, but at least I've had to train myself thinking like to be a businessman. So life's journey, meaning my journey and my circumstances, I believe have made me one. That's just my karma. So this goes to show that you can shape yourself. So Swami Chinmayananda says that you are an outcome, your life is an outcome of a destiny. But you can control your destiny. The destiny decides in which direction you are going to drive. But you decide and steer how you are going to follow that destiny. So if your destiny is going to go this way, or in whichever direction, is not in your hands. How you are going to sculpt, shape, and reshape that destiny is, he gives an example of a steering wheel as you navigate through traffic. So I believe it must have been destined that I have to be born where I was, to be a businessman as I am, to fail in some areas, to achieve in some areas. Failing is very important because that's what sets off the evolution in your personal life. I had another very interesting example. Ted Mathis, the chairman of New York Life, on July 11th or 12th, flew from the United States along with 5 team members. 5 of us from here, Rahul, Rajesh, Mohit, others. We met in England and he called us and invited us in London for a thank you party. And so he said, Anilji, we will do dinner in a party format as a thank you from New York Life to Max. And then you and I will have lunch the next day, which will be the first day of the start of our new friendship and continuing journey. I thought that was very nice. You know, after all, this is a leaving partner. So in that sense, it also tells you that the movement of Max New York Life to Max Life has been a win-win-win kind of a transaction. And he said, and everybody knows of Mark Spitz, who's a swimmer, but there's another Spitz who's a 100-meter dash runner. And he's a speaker who does, speaking for, inspiration and so on. And he had come and spoken to the folks in New York Life. And somebody asked him and he said, Mr. Spitz, what's your biggest learning? So he says, my learning at the end of my career is that you must slow down at the end of the tape. So the audience said, what the heck are you talking about? It's when you are at the tape that you really make the last dash to save those few fractions of seconds. So he said, no, this is about arrogance. If you always think you can do it right, and if you always think you can win, without being able to manage your life and conditions, you will become arrogant. So there must be stages and phases and situations in your life when you must pull back and slow down at the end of the tape. That's why I say sometimes losing and failing is also very important. It keeps you on the short and narrow. So that was Swami Chinmayananda's example, and I believe it applies to me. I personally honestly believe that the people that I'm surrounded by, and I've only mentioned the leaders of the businesses, it's all of you and many more, many more who are not in this room actually, who I personally know and see plowing through their daily lives and doing all they have done for the Max family. But I really believe that Tony, Rahul, Rajesh, Mohit, Ajay, Sudhir, Ajoy, Veer, Tara and others make better business folk than me because I see them. And I sort of then reflect to myself and I say, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't think that. I wasn't aware of this 15 years ago. These guys are sharp people, and in business you got to be sharp, otherwise, somebody will come and knock you off from your particular position. So I really believe that I'm still learning. So what is my experience? My experience simply is that when the shark swims behind you, you swim faster. And that goes a little bit to what this particular quote said. So what is this shark? Obviously it's a metaphor. This shark is a sense of purpose. This shark is a mission. This shark has got to be financial stability, because anybody says money is not important, he's bloody lying through his teeth. Money, of course, is important, provided you know how to use money. Using money, using wealth is also a skill. And there are enough examples in front of you that you must know, heard, seen, think of, where people have used money and wealth effectively, optimally, productively, elegantly, respectably, and otherwise. So this shark is this purpose. This shark is this mission. This shark is this financial stability. This shark is to prove excellence and achievement. It doesn't matter what that outcome is. It doesn't matter what that interest of yours is. It can vary from all kinds of vocations to professions to hobbies. But it's very important that this sense of purpose must be there. If you don't have that mission and sense of purpose, you can't be driven. If you're not driven, then as it says, you will keep on doing what you have been doing. So I thought this quote by this particular coach was extremely apt. The suffering has to be enough, or the reward has to be enough. If either of those aren't big enough, you're not going to change. You have to change. Your destiny is there, but you have to change, you have to steer. It's not all fixed and cast in stone. And then finally, you have to imbibe that there is a duty and responsibility you have to nature, to mankind, to earn your keep or living, and then when you have, then to share. Both come together, the need, the financial need, the responsibility to mankind, nature, society, and then to share once you have it, in whichever form, in whichever dimension, in whichever proportion. That is not the critical thing. So remember that in my experience, I have learned, or I have tried to learn, an attempt to train our physiology to focus on our internal world, to sculpt and re-sculpt our neural pathways. A lot of people say, oh, not in my hand. What should I do? This is my life, so-and-so is beating up on me, I can't deal with this, I'm tired, I'm lost, etc., etc. No, not true. You've got to focus on your internal world to clear these physical and mental pathways, to stimulate and balance areas that are crucial to your mental health, both IQ and EQ, and the other development needs will follow. You have to work at it. If you work at it, you will succeed. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. And for those people who have transformed themselves in various ways, to adapt, to change, to imbibe and shoulder various situations in life, must have had or should have had this experience. So over the last 25 years or so, I just wrote down, some of these I've had before, a couple you may have heard in the past, but I wrote down to share with you my personal list of learnings in leadership, which you may like to call current leadership operating principles, behavior. I find from my experience, a lot of people tie themselves into knots talking about, oh, this is not ethical, this is immoral. Nobody understands what the hell morality is, where ethics starts, where immorality begins, etc. So I ask myself the question, forget ethics and morality. I want to know your behavior and what is the outcome in your different situations. That tells me the picture. How you behave with yourself, remember, training yourself, how you behave with others, whatever, customers, friends, family, wife, children, friends, boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever. What is your behavior? And that behavior to me is a good barometer of the level of morality or ethics that you live your life with. What is your behavior? You can't come, get rough with somebody, be extremely selfish, not comfort somebody, deprive somebody, and say, yeah, I'm a very ethical chap. What does it mean? So what is the outcome of your work and thinking at all times? Your behavior. And so how do I behave? How do I look? What is the outcome of every little thing you do? A greeting, a project, an accomplishment, a phone call, a presentation, concluding a deal, whatever it is in your life. How do you behave? You don't have the right. Your only purpose in life is to help people put a smile on somebody's face, in whichever way or fashion you do it. Right? That's your behavior. That's important. And a lot of people say, no, you see, at home I'm like this. Or somebody at home says, no, you see, you bring out the worst in me. At work, ask my colleagues, I'm a great chap at work. No, bullshit. You're the same person. You have to be the same at work, you have to be the same at home, and if there's any shortage, any shortcoming, you've got to go back to what I said earlier. You've got to get into your internal world to fix that. And therefore in leadership, it is not so much what you say or do that matters, but how you make other people feel. I'm using feel as a very general expression. Feel meaning the impact you have on somebody. That doesn't mean that what you say or do is unimportant. You can't write roughshod over people. So I might have made you feel good, but I have to find a way of how I say and do it. And therefore, it's very, very important to be trusting and trustworthy. These are two sides of the same coin. You cannot be a trusting person if you are not a trustworthy person. And you cannot be a trustworthy person if I don't trust you. I meaning, I don't trust you, you don't trust me, whatever. So trusting and trustworthy are two sides of the same coin. Think about it, contemplate on it, you'll understand. And again, trust as it applies to any situation in your life, any relationship in your life, any interaction or interface in his life. My other learning is indecision does not work. Be decisive. You will always be rewarded for action. You will never be rewarded for a delay or indecision. Even if that decision or action is not apparently 100% correct to you, because one of two things will happen when you take a decision. Either you've taken the right decision or the decision turned out to be wrong. You can't say you've taken the wrong decision. Nobody would be stupid to do that. But if you find that the decision you've taken has not turned out to be right, you have the option of quickly coming back and going down on the other road. But if you don't act in the first place, you're stuck. Then you don't change, going back to that coach's comment, and things don't move. Again, business life, personal life, relationships, business transactions, the same. Move, take a decision. And as His Holiness the Dalai Lama says, karam is not destiny or outcomes. Karam is an inert part of human beings, action. You remember he explained, I think it was at a Max day, when somebody asked him what is a blessing, and he said a blessing comes from karma with mindfulness. You remember that story? And somebody asked him what is karma, and karma he said is karam karo, action. And he said what is mindfulness? Correct thinking, correct talking, correct action. So if you do things with mindfulness, accumulation of doing those right things all collect together, compounded, and show up as a blessing. That's what His Holiness said. So, action. In the services business, because that's the context in which we live our lives, if you have lost the urge to serve, and we have talked seva bhav in many places, what is seva bhav? Is not to serve, but is to humbly serve. Prostrate. So, if you have lost the urge to serve, your time is up. If you can't go that extra mile for the patient, your customer, your policy holder, whoever, your time is up. If you don't care, your time is up. If you can't work harder for it, your time is up. Society. This is very relevant for us as Indians. We must impact our society close and far. Close meaning what? This room. Society, first for us, our country. It is our job, individually, as a company, as a Max Group, to impact society close and far. We must be the drivers of change. This business of saying government doesn't do this, Sarkar doesn't do this, the minister is wrong, is all a load of rubbish. You have to do what you have to do, and the jury is not out on whether developmental of an economy or a society as a people, the fabric, the moral fiber and fabric of a society is your responsibility. And close and far, close meaning where you're sitting on the table, in the next room, in the office, at home, far meaning around you, whatever you can do, the little contribution you can make is your responsibility. And again, if you cannot benefit society and do things for the benefit of society, again, your time is up. Then persistency, hard work, focus will get you there. It is absolutely focus you. You focus on destroying, you'll destroy it. You focus on becoming a liar, you will become an excellent one, nobody will know you're lying. You focus on becoming a cheat, you will become a cheat. You focus on doing anything like that, you will achieve it with finesse. Not because of any other reason, but because of your persistency, hard work and focus. Focus, 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 focus works. I can think of hundreds of examples of outcomes that have come through sheer persistency and focus. Just stay with it. Take risk, sometimes measured and sometimes in a foolhardy manner from your gut. This is a very good test to check whether nature and environment supports you. And then you decide, once you know you're taking these risks and you find that when I take these risks, a force comes to support me, a force comes to help me, and it works, then you can wear a spacesuit. Because by and large, you do something, and you do it with focus, you do it with sincerity, you do it with perseverance, okay? You said, I did it before. A few things happened around me that made it work. Then you can wear a spacesuit. You know, you can cruise. It works. It's God's telling you, nature's telling you, go ahead, boy, I'll support you. And if it doesn't, then you get into fatigues and you get into battle gear and say, wait a minute, I've got to redo something. There's a disconnect somewhere in my life. You've got to figure it out. You'll figure it out with the right earnest. Point on top, this has been my experience. Rub shoulders with those who know more than you, who have more experience than you. You'll be a taller person for it, not a shorter person for it. You will learn more. Try it. You'll feel a little challenged initially, but you will find exponential improvement in yourself, spiritually, intelligently, emotionally, and then you feel you've just developed a new capability. Try it. Try it every single day. Watch those people, how they think, how they work, how they talk, how they deal with situations which you were inept at doing, and you'll find you'll be learning the same things. If I go through my scan of 25 years, just in literally 15 minutes, I put down these some 15, 20, 25 attributes. Some you have seen before, and I thought I should share. Before, 20 years ago, we used to say we must delegate. Delegate was just parceling out a job or a task. Today we say empower, which means just not the physical task alone, but the intellectual and emotional and behavioral responsibility of dealing with the total task. Ajay, you do it. I haven't thought it through. I'm not telling you how to do it. I empower you. I trust you. You're experienced. Do it. Not delegate. Delegate means this is what you have to do. This is the time in which you have to do it. This is the size in which you have to do it. Just please go. Like a mazdoor. There are no mazdoors today. The well-offness has improved. Our mental faculties have improved. Empower. Managing. Again, we used to say, he's manager. He's managing a situation. Today, you are leaders. This is called not a management summit. It's called the leadership summit. There's a big difference between management and leadership. Management means the variables are known in front of you. Leadership means we don't know the variables. We don't know what's coming up ahead. You lead and figure it out. Get it right. Get it right out of 7, 8 times out of 10. Tell versus sell. Buy in. We got to do this. Is it okay with you? Yes or no? Please tell me, Rahul. Yes, okay, but no. Today we have to discuss the whole vision and mission. Why are we doing it? How are we doing it? How are we going to get there? I don't think this is the right way. This is too much risk. This resource allocation is not right. This timing is not right. You got to sell the whole proposal to your leadership team. So why complex times, collective wisdom, collective thinking, collective decision making? Whereas buy-in was, I have figured it out. Is it okay with you? You're going to do it? Yes? Okay, thank you. Buy-in. You do it. I've told you, now you go and do it. Very different, 2 words. Before we used to say my top 1 or 2 people. This was the language. Now you don't say top 1 or 2, you say my top team. Before, compliance was a voluntary act. 15, 20 years ago, you had somebody, very few corporates that were compliance oriented. Today, there's no partial compliance. It's a zero sum. It's either total compliance or you have problems. So how the world has changed. Before we used to talk about administrative reforms. We used to talk about administrative ministries. Today we talk regulatory. As more sectors have got privatized, the role of administrative ministries has come down. I'm just using one example. And regulators have come up. For example, we call the steel ministry an administrative ministry for steel. What does it do? Manage sale. What does the aviation ministry do? Mismanage Air India, not even manage. Why? Right? But then there's a DGCA. There's supposed to be a secretary, insurance and banking, who happens to be a dear friend of mine in the finance ministry, secretary level person. He's our administrative ministry. We never go there. We go to IRDA. And so on and so forth. Provide info. I remember 2025, somebody wanted to say, "Hi, isko thoda information de do." You know, thoda de do. What is thoda de do? Galat de do, bana ke de do. You can duplicate it, change the numbers, fudge the numbers. Just satisfy him. De do, kuch de do. Beech mein 2 kagaz dal do, upar niche kuch kabar dal ke de do. Today, no chance. Total transparency. See the size of annual reports and balance sheets and the amount of disclosure we have to do. Nobody reads it. The paper industry does well, but it's total transparency. Before we used to say, concentrate. Going back to focus, persistency doesn't work. Exclusive focus. Competitive landscape has changed. Complex times that we live in. Capital, customers, choices, discerning customers, etc., etc. Unless you really don't bring an exclusive value proposition to the customer, you won't retain that customer. Customer will come, because sometimes we don't have much choice, or the choice in front of us appears to be good, but if the experience is not sustainable, you will never retain a customer. Then we used to talk about protection. Today we talk about market competitiveness. I started my business where duties were 300%. That means your level of inefficiency could be 300% minus. That's what it meant. That means that if you went somewhere else, you could buy the product for $1. You came to India, there were 300% duty that you could have to buy it for $4. That means I could make a $3 worth of mistake. Today is gone. It's all market competitiveness. Before we used to thrive on debt, 2:1, 3:1, 4:1 debt equity. Today, any private equity, banks, others say, skin in the game, baby. You bring your equity first, then I'll talk to you. So more risk taking. Scale was not so relevant in the past. You had many examples of small companies, single unit, single hotel, single location, single etc. operations. Today size matters because economy of scale matters, because leaders have choices about corporations they can go to. They like to work on larger platforms, so size matters. Before we used to say, I'm very committed. You know, you wrote a letter, gave somebody a performance appraisal and you said, your commitment levels are great. Not enough. We're looking for passion, life's choices. It goes back to market competitiveness. It feels good, we used to say. Yeah, theek hai. Feels good. No good. It has to capture the total values of the organization, of the people, of the purchase, of the post-purchase, the total experience of what the brand is trying to do. That entire value has to come through. Value as seen by the product, value as seen by the service, value as seen by your management practices, values as you depict them through how you hire, how you fire, how you talk to people, how you measure people, how you reward people. The total value system. Before we used to say, he works very hard, activity-based. Well, very hard-working chap. What does he produce? Outcome-based. Because we're all living in difficult times, so we are measuring outcomes. This is a very interesting one. Hog space or turf and vacate space or turf. To me, one great way for getting elevated in an organization is this. There are people who are very territorial and turf-oriented, and they want to hog the space around them. And there are others who like to vacate the space. I can give a personal example. Why not? Ashwini Windler, some of you know him. Ashwini had this very strange phenomenon. Every 2 to 3 years, going back 25 years ago, he would say, I have no work to do. I said, what the hell are you talking about? He came as an accounts manager, assistant manager accounts, and then became joint MD with me in Max. And every 2 years, he said, I have no work to do. At 10:30, I'm done. My desk, please come to my room. I have no work to do. And through that route, he just took more and more and more. He made sure that he delegated work. He got the right people, vacated the space to others so that he could rise in the organization. But there is some reason around insecurity or vision or tunnel vision where a lot of people still have the habit of keeping things to them. They feel information is power. It's rubbish. Power is helping people. Power is supporting people. Power is getting other people to succeed. And then nobody is blind. Very few people are stupid these days. Everybody is very smart. Then people see and reward you for having propped up people. So, vacate space. In the past, mostly everything was relationship driven. People just counted on good faith and relationships. Today it is much more template driven, again because of competition, market dynamics, etc. But it is also relationship driven. Man is a social animal, don't forget. We are first driven by our emotions. That's the way we are born. Some people retain more, some people lose more, but relationships remain relationships. Look around you, look as I see through my joint venture. These are all my personal experiences. These are all relationships. Ted Math is flying from America for a thank you party after getting a great deal, etc., etc. No need. Relationship. Next day having lunch, Aniljeet, we'll always remain friends. You're always welcome in New York. This is just one example. Relationships. 5 days ago, we read Mr. Rangachari and Parthasarthi Som have been appointed heads of committees to review GAR and review IT, tax-related matters pertaining to IT. Mr. Rangachari retired as CBDT chairman 18 years ago. 18 years ago, then became chairman of IRD, and many people who knew him then must have forgotten him and said, yeah, pardon the expression, ye to buddha ho gaya, chodo ab kya karna hai, he lives somewhere in Madras or Bangalore. Heading a committee that's touching the lives of millions of people. Today everybody is trying to resurrect their, oh sir, remember sir, I knew you 15, 18 years ago. For me it's business as usual, I'm on text with him. I never forgot the relationship with the man. Just a small example. Relationships very important. Because touch and feel and the human in you, we are all humans first. The relationship is very important. Because you got to feel good doing what you're doing. A decade used to be 10 years ago. To me, a decade has become 5 years. Everything has got compressed. You've got to think in narrower time frames, not longer time frames. Which is why this long term has become mid to short term focus. And there is one time when mid to short term scores over long term. Because if there is no short term, there cannot be a long term. So the focus you had in the past, when I told scale didn't matter, you were single units, it worked. But today you've got to make first time right. It's another way of saying it. You got to get it right first time. Once that template is right, first time right is there, you can go medium to short term. Before we used to say blue sky strategy. Okay, let's go for an offsite. No pencil, no paper, and think about something. And we talk, blue sky. Now, no blue sky. Cloudy sky. There are so many boundaries. Regulations, capital, competition, all kinds of norms that you have to deal with. Construction norms, you can't use asbestos, you can't use this material. So many things around you. There are so many boundaries today that you have to work very tightly within the constraints and boundaries. So strategy has no longer boundaryless. We talk, Ajay and I, for example, in the recent past, we talk about Max Healthcare. There are more factors stopping us than there are factors starting us. So it is not boundaryless strategy anymore. And in the end, and I can go on and on, I just want to say that at the end of the day, you are the leaders of the Max Group, and excellence is the key driver. Excellence is one word. Excellence, do your best, last mile, stretch, always be there for the customer, etc., etc. Please work towards it every minute, every day, every week, every month, every year. Apply the same standard at work and at home, and both as human beings and as leaders of the Max Group. I have absolutely no doubt that you will excel. Thank you and God bless.